the rounds on social media because a lot of people are responding to what she said on the Cam Newton show. A full link of this, a link for this full interview is in the description box. Check the full interview out. It is a good interview and it's a good discussion. You know, a lot of people are out here wondering why they can't find a decent woman, wondering why they can't find a decent man. A lot of people are not working on themselves to present to a good man or a good woman, a good person. Like, if you're looking for a good woman, you should make sure you're a good man. If you're looking for a good man, you should make sure you're a good woman. So take this time while you are single to work on yourself and any traumas that you are experiencing. Let me play a little clip of this interview.
Well, being in Atlanta all this time and then going to Nashville, where it's predominantly white. One, they go home at 5 and 6 o'clock when they're producing because they go home to their families. Being a country singer, if you are a singer in country music, you're a man. If you are not married, it is not respected. Family is respected in country music in that space. But in our space, we are singing about side chicks. We are glorifying a lot of women. That's not what happens in Nashville. You can't call a woman a bitch, a hoe in Nashville because they'll never even listen to your music and your professional career will suffer. At what point in the black community do our men create real homes? And even talking, just our first time talking, and you said you didn't even mean for that to happen. Life happens. I'm not here to judge life. I'm looking at a successful black man that has the ability to literally turn the narrative on black family, you know? And
you have to look at it. A lot of times, if you're trying to put out positive images, positive music, and different things, music is something that is repetitive. So it's not like a movie where you watch a movie one time, or a TV episode, you watch it one time, maybe you watch it a few times, a movie or TV episode. You know, music is something that's repetitive, is played many, many times. And so that's why it's important to make sure you're not programming yourself or putting things in your subconscious that is negative. You know, a lot of people don't recognize not to get churchy, but the demonic influence on the music. You know, they put this stuff over very nice beats, and a lot of these people are extremely talented, but it's what they're saying that is going into your subconscious. They've normalized the disrespect of black women. And as long as people are still playing the music, still purchasing the music, they're going to keep putting that out because it's profitable. You know, so the black community has to take some responsibility for the culture. You listen to some of these songs, they're talking about murdering. They're saying, murdering N-words. You know, it's, promiscuity. You know, a lot of these female artists are basically rapping about prostitution, sex for money. These are the songs that people are listening to, and they're programming their subconscious, this ghetto gangster ratchet culture where they feel that you have to mimic those behaviors or act like that.
my grandfather, I watched my uncles and everything. My whole family, they're married. I'm not the girl who didn't see what a man creating a black family is supposed to be. So I'm asking right now, black men, I got to my black men to really step up for black women and create families.
You know, she can cry and everything, and I feel her pain. But if she grew up with a lot of positive influences, I'm sort of confused why she went the opposite direction and chose men that were abusive to her. Because a lot of this abuse, whether it's male on female, female on male, a lot of these toxic relationship and abuse in relationships is a result of learned behavior. They mimic that behavior that they saw in their family. So it's sort of confusing to me that she had all these positive role models in her family and she chose to go the opposite way of that. She has to ask herself, why is she so rebellious, or why was she so rebellious against having love and thinking that she was not worthy of someone who is not abusive. That's like any woman out here. You have to ask yourself, and men, ask yourself, why do you think that you are not worthy of someone treating you right? I remember one time I was at my job, not the current job, but I was at a job. This girl was crying because she was like, she just wants somebody to treat her right. She was working all these doubles. Her man was at home, didn't have a job, would be making all these demands on her to buy him stuff and do stuff for him and take him places. And she was busting her ass. And I guess she got to a point where she was just tired and exhausted. And she started breaking down at work amongst us women because she was crying about the fact that she just wants somebody to treat her right. And, you know, a lot of us were encouraging her to be with somebody that is going to treat you right. That's your choice, that you're with this person, that he's just lying around in the bed, playing video games, demanding that you work all these hours while he don't have a job. You know, a lot of this have to do with low self-esteem. Especially if you know you're in a toxic relationship and you keep staying in these toxic relationships or hopping from one toxic relationship to another. So, yeah, I do agree with K. Michelle. It's become, in America at least, a culture of disrespecting women, not wanting to find someone to settle down with, thinking you got to hop from this one to that one to this one to that one. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, that's become a subculture. That is not the overall culture of Black Americans, because most Black men are not like that. Most Black men are decent men. But there's a large enough portion of Black men that's a significant enough amount that does have this abusive mentality towards Black women. And a lot of times when they even interracially date, sometimes, you know, the woman thinks that because they're not a Black woman, that he's not going to give her that type of treatment. And he still treats her that way because the issue is interpersonal with him. If somebody has this attitude where they are disrespectful to women, especially in their own race, what makes you think that they're not going to have those abusive tendencies just because the color of the woman's skin has changed? So that's something that the Black men do need to work on, you know, and a lot of it comes from them just not having positive male role models at home, not having positive female role models at home. Not that, you know, not that the man has to mimic the woman, but a good person is a good person. And a woman that's carrying herself in a respectful way, you have to teach your sons, you have to teach the men in your family to respect women.
It's really not cool. Black men are attacking Black women And it's not a cool, they're not creating homes, they're creating babies everywhere. It's not cool. And I'm asking you, other successful black men, to be, you have to set an example as leads. The cute social media back and forth on black women. Black women are strong. Black women are where you come from, this and that. So there probably isn't any sympathy for you and just life happening, because there's so many other things around you going on that are not fair to black women. What is going on with the black family? We are consistently creating the cycle of kids who can't come home and see their daddy there. And they see their mama sad at night. At what point is the successful black man in this world going to step in and really create structure? I see white men doing it every day. I get to witness the best of both worlds every day. Getting on stage singing R&B, being here in Atlanta, I get to sing R&B, but then I get to go to Nashville and be.
You know, I don't like it being framed that white men are supposed to be these perfect men, because there are a lot of white women and Asian women and Latino women whose men are running upside their head, abandoning them with children and all kinds of stuff as well. You know, either you're a decent man or you're not a decent man. Either you're a man that's dealing with traumas and you're taking it out on the woman. Sometimes these men don't start manifesting certain things until they become a father. So they may not have been abusive to their previous girlfriends, but then they have a child with a girlfriend or their wife, and then all of these traumas start coming out. A lot of it is, yeah, a woman can be a single mother, but it's how you raise your son with how he's going to turn out. And a lot of times people say black women are strong. Yes, black women are strong, but I look at black women as like they may have a hard exterior, but a soft interior. There's a lot of things that that black women are just functioning under trauma. Like, they have a lot of trauma that they're dealing with, but because they have to get up, they have to provide, they have to take care of the kids, they push themselves through it, but that doesn't mean that that pain is not there. So that pain can still be there. You're just pushing yourself through it. Just because you're pushing yourself through it doesn't mean that pain is not there. And that pain, because it's there, it's going to manifest itself in some way, shape, or form. So you have a lot of these women who become obsessed with their sons. They don't want their sons to have any other woman in their life. You have some of these women who abuse their sons. You have some of these women who are bringing abusive men in the home. So the boy is growing up in a household where somebody's kicking their mother's ass every time they turn around. And then they feel helpless because they're not big and strong enough to protect their mother, but their mother keeps bringing this abusive man in the home. So you're dealing with a lot of traumas until those are addressed, and people need to address that on an individual basis. You're not going to see an overall shift in that subculture of black men that are abusive and disrespectful towards women. In general, I do not believe the majority of black men are abusive and negative towards women. I just don't believe that. That's not what I've seen and experienced. But there is that, but I do recognize the subculture of black men that are abusers. So no, you're not going to create a good family with somebody who's dealing with traumas and abuse himself. And first of all, I don't care what race you are. It is an honor to have a child for someone. It is an honor for you to use your body to bring forth life that is part you and part this man. So if he's not shit and he's an abuser, why are you trying to duplicate and replicate that? I could see if he's this great, wonderful man, he's doing everything right, not saying that nobody's perfect, but he's this just ideal man, and you just have so much confidence in him that he should be replicated. He is just such a great man that you would want to open your body up to bringing forth life that is a reflection of this wonderful man. That's not what's happening with a lot of black women and women, but especially with black women, since we're on the subject of black. If somebody is in and out of jail, if somebody can barely keep a job, if somebody's bopping you upside the head, if somebody's pulling out a weapon on you, somebody's knocking you around, calling you names, don't have control over his sexuality and his private parts, and he can't be faithful, then what makes you think that he should be replicated? Because you're going to bring a child into the world, and doesn't matter what you think after the fact, that is his father. So if he wasn't shit before you had the baby, he's not going to be shit while you're pregnant. He's not going to be shit after you have the baby. Which means he's going to have an influence on your child. And he's not going to respect that child's innocence. And you're not respecting that child's innocence either, by having someone in that child's life that is not a good role model. You know, she's sitting there crying, talking about Cam Newton because why? He's a rich athlete. He should be some role model to men out here and ... You know, the first role model to a male child should be his own father. And if the woman who is bringing forth this life into the world doesn't know that that father is a good role model, then why are you replicating this person? You know, so I think people can look at celebrities and entertainers and music genres. You know, it's a music genre. You don't have to listen to it. But what's up close and personal and in your face is what's in your home and what's in your family and what's in your community. That's what's in your face. So a person can like horror films. They can like that. They can like thrillers. They can like horror films. But that doesn't mean they're going to run out in the street and be a slasher or, you know, play psychological murder games with people or something like that. They may just like those movies. You know, somebody may like hip hop or rap songs or something, but that doesn't mean they're going to go and mimic that behavior. What's going to stop them from mimicking that behavior is if they have a good base, a good core, and they know and recognize this is a genre of music and this is not going to be a reflection of my reality. This is entertainment. And at the same time, you may not want to be entertained with you know, that type of music or movies or anything like that. So, I mean, you know, calling on these celebrities just because they are highly visible in society and they have a platform where they can speak to millions of people, yeah, that's important. But at the same time, a father in a home that's a decent man has more influence over his child than somebody who is rapping on a song, or some athlete that's throwing a ball, or some movie star that's talking about this or that, you know, or using the B word. Your father in your home, your mother in your home, whether you're being raised by a single mom or a single dad, that person has more influence on you because they should be modeling the behavior that they want to see in you. So, you know, I think women need to take more responsibility for the life that they are bringing into the world. You know, if you're hooking up with a man that's not really worthy of you, then why are you replicating this man? You know, we as women have to take more responsibility. And I would tell that to any young girl, especially women who don't have children already. You know, you really need to think about whether this man is worthy to bring a child into the world for. And if the answer is no, you shouldn't even be dating that guy. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below if you're so motivated to do so. This is Wonders of a Black Woman. Peace.